Okay, so today we are going to discuss about several acts, rules, and regulations which are related to environment and different environmental components. So basically, we call it the Environment Protection Act or just the Environment Act. हम इसको Environment Protection Act या फिर simply Environment Act बोलते हैं इसको। इसका जरूरत क्यों है? हम लोगों ने पिछले कई सारे क्लासेस में हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया कि बहुत सारा एनवायरमेंटल कंपोनेंट या फिर बहुत सारा नेचुरल रिसोर्सेस हम लोग ओवर यूटिलाइज करते हैं या फिर जो पावर में रहता है वो ज्यादा यूटिलाइज करता है या शहर के लोग बहुत सारा नेचुरल रिसोर्स को ज्यादा कंज्यूम करते हैं कंपेयर टू रूरल पॉपुलेशन। ऐसी बहुत सारी डाइवर्सिटी है, ऐसा बहुत सारा गैप है जिसको कि कम करने के लिए आफ्टर इंडिपेंडेंस धीरे धीरे बहुत सारे रूल्स, बहुत सारे नए लॉ, बहुत सारे एक्ट, बहुत सारे बिल पास हुए हैं और उनको लोगों के ऊपर में लगाया जाता है ताकि जिससे कि बहुत सारा रिसोर्स का हम ओवर यूटिलाइजेशन रोके या फिर उनका डिग्रेडेशन को मिनिमाइज करने के लिए। अगर अगर अभी सबको पता है कि पेड़ काटना बहुत सीवियर पनिशमेंट है पेड़ काटने का, बट अभी भी देख सकते हैं हमारा रूरल एरिया में बहुत सारे पुराना पेड़ को लोग काटते हैं, सेल आउट करते हैं। कैसे पॉसिबल होता है वो? रिसेंटली किसी ने देखा है पेड़ कटते हुए?
यस सर।
ओके, तो कैसे अभी
यस सर।
गवर्नमेंट का तो परमिशन नहीं है पेड़ काटने का, फिर कैसे काटते हैं?
सर चोरी से काट लेते हैं।
ओके, सो बहुत बार दे हैव टू पे सम अमाउंट टू फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट टू पुलिस स्टेशन एंड देन दे गेट परमिशन टू कट इट। और बहुत सारा ऐसा भी सिचुएशन होता है कि लाइक अगर पुराना पेड़ है घर के आसपास में है और ऐसा पॉसिबिलिटीज है कि गिरने का, सो इन दैट केस दे गेट परमिशन। और भी बहुत सारा रीजन है उसके वजह से हो सकता है। So, why, as I told that why it is important, this such kind of rules and regulation is very important in present scenario. अगर ये रूल और रेगुलेशन अगर नहीं होता है तो हमारे लिए नेचुरल रिसोर्सेस को, बहुत सारा एनवायरमेंटल कंपोनेंट्स को प्रिजर्व करना या सेव करना बहुत डिफिकल्ट होगा। जो लोग भी पावर में है या जो लोग भी उस रिसोर्स के आसपास में है, दे विल कंज्यूम मोर और एक्सेस अमाउंट में दे विल कंज्यूम और दे विल ओवर यूज एंड एक्सप्लॉइट द रिसोर्सेस। So for this reason, to minimize this all activities, government has enforced this all law, rules and regulation. So the first one is that is Environment Protection Act that was constituted in 1986 on 19th November in order to provide protection and improvement of environment and for related matter, such kind of matters. Um, there are four main chapters and different clause which lay down the standards, policies and acts of environmental degradation. पहला chapter है that describes the definition of various entities that are related to environment. Then second chapter है that describes the role of central government to take measures for environment protection and its improvement along with the economic development. Also, it includes the appointment of officers, several other appointments they do in order to give directions, in order to regulate environmental pollution, lay down different procedures and standards for industrial waste, like management of industrial waste and all. So, from the first slide, it is very clear that these all act and rules are constituted in order to minimize the different degradation activities which are occurring nowadays. एंड ऐसा नहीं है कि ये प्रॉब्लम, दिस प्रॉब्लम हैज अराइज्ड, दिस इज अ न्यूली अराइज प्रॉब्लम, बट यू कैन सी दिस एक्ट हैज बीन कॉन्स्टिट्यूटेड इन 1986। सो ये प्रॉब्लम तो बहुत पहले से ही है बट स्टिल पीपल आर नॉट अवेयर। और हम देखते हैं बहुत सारे एरिया में अभी भी डिफोरेस्टेशन जैसी एक्टिविटीज, माइनिंग जैसी एक्टिविटीज अभी भी बहुत ही तेज रफ्तार से चल रहा होता है. सो by observing the current scenario of say like climate change, then uncertainty of several climatic parameters like a shift in parameters of rainfall, then shift in intensity and duration of rainfall. So this, like by observing these activities we can realize key such kind of rules regulations are really very important, and it should be constituted, it should be restructured again and again. जैसे बहुत सारा लॉ पुराना हो चुका है और उनमें बहुत सारे लूप होल लोगों ने ढूंढ लिया है, जिसके थ्रू अभी भी वो लोग उस लूप होल के थ्रू सारा डिग्रेड एनवायरमेंटल एक्टिविटीज को भी रोकने के लिए जरूरत है कि बहुत सारा रीफ्रेम करें हम इन सारे पुराने लॉ को, जो कि जैसे कि हम देख रहे हैं कि 6 में बना था. तो इसके जो भी चैप्टर्स है, जो भी क्लॉज है इसमें, हो सकता है कि उनमें अभी के टाइम में बहुत सारा लूप होल्स हो, तो उनको सुधारने के लिए इसको रिफ्रेम करने की और नया लॉ बनाने की जरूरत है. Then chapter 3 deals with the prevention, control and abatement of environmental pollution. As per the guidelines, a person running an industry cannot emit or discharge environmental pollution in excess of the permissible limit. So, just wait. Okay, so am I audible?
Yes, sir.
ओके. सो जैसा कि चैप्टर 3 में लिखा है कि कोई भी ऐसा पर्सन है जो कि अगर इंडस्ट्री रन कर रहा है, सो while starting of the industry he has to do registration with environment department also. So environment department क्या करता है कि they give permission to the concerned industry that you will generate or you will have permission to generate only this much amount of pollution. That pollution can be in any form, either um, say like air pollution, like generation of smoke and CO2, या फिर कुछ सॉलिड वेस्ट अगर जनरेट करता है, तो एवरीथिंग इज लिमिटेड एंड एवरीथिंग हैज परमिशन और लिमिटेशन. उस लिमिटेशन से ज्यादा अगर करता है तो दे विल बी चार्ज. ठीक है, इसलिए हम बहुत बार देखते हैं कि कैसा भी इंडस्ट्री है या वर्कशॉप है, अगर पुलिस वाले चाहे तो उनके ऊपर फाइन लगा सकते हैं वो लोग एनवायरमेंटल एक्ट के थ्रू, क्योंकि ऐसा बहुत ही कॉमनली देखने को मिलता है कि जिसका भी परमिशन जितना ज्यादा है उससे ज्यादा ही दे आर जनरेटिंग इधर वेस्ट और दे आर कंट्रीब्यूटिंग टू एयर पोल्यूशन. बहुत सारा कोई भी इंडस्ट्री उठा लो, उनका पोल्यूशन उनके परमिट से ज्यादा रहता है, बहुत ही कॉमनली ये देखने के लिए मिलता है. ठीक है. तो नेक्स्ट वन इज चैप्टर 4 that lists miscellaneous clauses which are not pertaining to environment but are guidelines for functioning and conduct of officers and government representatives, and these guidelines must be laid before parliament for its validity. The next one is Air Prevention Act, or air, simply we call it Air Act or Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act. So this act has been enacted in 1981. It consists of 7 chapters and 54 sections. तो पहला वाला चैप्टर इसका ये बोलता है कि दिस चैप्टर डिफाइंस द फॉलोइंग टर्म्स सच एज एयर पोल्यूशन, अप्रूव्ड फ्यूल, ऑटोमोबाइल, चिमनी एमिशन, कंट्रोल इक्विपमेंट एक्सेट्रा। तो रूरल एरिया में अगर तुमने देखा होगा, जो जो भी ब्रिक इंडस्ट्री होता है, ईंट भट्ठा होता है ना, उसमें से कितना धुआं निकलता है। ईंट भट्ठे से कितने लोगों ने देख रखा है ईंट भट्ठा, जहाँ पे ईंट बनता है, ब्रिक।
यस सर, देखे हैं सर।
यस सर, देखे हैं
उससे
सर।
तो कैसे?
यस सर, देखा
उससे
है।
कितना धुआं निकलता है।
बहुत सर।
बहुत
बहुत
ज्यादा।
ज्यादा निकलता है ना।
बहुत ज्यादा।
तो वो उसको परमिशन लेना पड़ता होगा गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट से, अंडर प्रिवेंशन एंड कंट्रोल पोल्यूशन एक्ट। परमिशन लेना पड़ता होगा, एंड देन ओनली दे विल बी गेटिंग क्लियरेंस। So, second chapter deals with the information regarding CPCB, that is Central Pollution Control Board, and SPCB, that is State Pollution Control Board, their constitutions, terms and conditions of service of members, delegations of power to various officials. So, chapter second, इस एक्ट का चैप्टर सेकंड ये बताता है कि कुछ स्पेसिफिक रूल रेगुलेशन है इन चीजों के लिए। सीपीसीबी का अलग है, स्टेट पोल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड का अलग है। जैसा कि फॉर एग्जांपल अभी दिल्ली में, मुंबई में, मतलब जितना भी मेट्रो सिटी है, स्पेशली जो दिल्ली शहर है, विद इन दिल्ली नया इंडस्ट्री सेटअप करने का परमिशन नहीं है बाई सीपीसीबी। ठीक है, नया इंडस्ट्री विद इन द पेरिफेरी ऑफ दिल्ली इज नॉट परमिटेड टू सेट अप नाउ। जबकि दूसरे सारे स्टेट में सीडीसीबी से कोई बाउंडेशन नहीं है, तो उनका स्टेट का अपना परमिशन अगर है तो दे विल सेट अप इंडस्ट्री, अगर नहीं है तो दे विल नॉट सेट अप इंडस्ट्री। ठीक है। और दिल्ली में ऐसा क्यों है, उसका एक रीजन ये है क्योंकि दिल्ली में ऑलरेडी बहुत ज्यादा डेंस पॉपुलेशन है, बहुत ही व्हीकल का डेंसिटी, नंबर ऑफ व्हीकल्स बहुत ज्यादा है, और पुराने बहुत सारे इंडस्ट्री है जिनको कि हटाया नहीं जा सकता, जैसा कि छोटे छोटे बहुत सारे मिल है, बहुत सारे इंडस्ट्री है जो कि ऑलरेडी सफिशिएंट अमाउंट में पोल्यूशन है। तो अंडर द गाइडलाइंस ऑफ पोल्यूशन, इट इज नॉट रिकमेंडेड टू सेट इन पेरिफेरी ऑफ यूनियन टेरिटरी। क्योंकि बिहार में लगभग सारे ही टाइप के इंडस्ट्री का सेटअप करने का के लिए परमिशन है, और बाकी सारे स्टेट्स में भी परमिशन है। स्टिल बिहार में क्यों कंपनी बनती है, कोई बताएगा। पता है कि नहीं।
क्या सर, आपका आवाज कट कट के आ रहा है।
हाँ, मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि बिहार में नई इंडस्ट्री क्यों नहीं लगती है जल्दी। अंजलि, आवाज आ रही है। हेलो।
सर कट कट के आवाज आ रहा है।
सर, कट कट के आ रहा है।
अरे,
सर बिहार में
ठीक है। फिर नेक्स्ट चैप्टर, थर्ड चैप्टर, थर्ड emphasizes the function of central board and state board, such as to collect, compile, and publish the data regarding air pollution and to guide the industry for the effective prevention and control of air pollution. आ रही है मेरी आवाज?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
ओके, ठीक है। और सिमिलरली चैप्टर 4 है that deals with prevention and control of air pollution. This board is authorized to declare air pollution control areas, instruct regarding the emission standards for automobiles and restricted activities of several industries. Similarly, chapter 4 है deals with the fund, accounts and auditing of the central and state boards. Similarly, chapter 6 है, and there is some punishment like imprisonment for not less than 1 year and 6 months. It may be to 6 years and with fine. ये सारे जो act हम करते हैं, जो एयर पोल्यूशन एक्ट है, अगर उसको हम तोड़ते हैं, उसके उस एक्ट के थ्रू किसी भी 1 year and 6 month, एक करीब करीब 1.5 साल की जेल या फिर 6 साल की जेल, और उसके साथ में फाइन उसके ऊपर लगाया जाता है. सो दिस इज इफ समवन गोस against the law or against the act of air pollution and control act. Similarly, और भी बहुत सारे chapters हैं, you go through this chapter. The Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act. The Water Act, it was enacted by Parliament in 1974 to control and resolve the water pollution, to control and for control and prevention of water pollution. This act consists of 8 chapters and 64 sections. So all these chapters you can go through it. I'm not going to read all these lines. 8 chapters है, तो different sections है. One is wildlife. So this act is framed in 1972. Protection of wild animals. So comprises and 56. This act extends whole of India except Jammu and Kashmir. तो ये बहुत बना सकता है कि ऐसा कौन सा स्टेट है जहाँ की वाइल्ड लाइफ नहीं लगता है. तो
सर साउंड कट कट के आ रहा है.
कश्मीर. तो ये एक्ट 1972 में बना था और
सर
इसके
आपकी साउंड नहीं आ रही है.
नहीं सर,
क्यों
कट
नहीं आ रहा
कट
है
के आ
ये?
रहा है.
तो सर कट कट के आ रहा है.
मैं क्या करूँ, जो इंटरनेट है वो इंटरनेट यूज, तो मैं एक चेंज करता हूँ इंटरनेट, देखते हैं. तो यही चल रहा है सिर्फ. चलो कोई नहीं, मैं थोड़ा थोड़ा बस इतना ही है इसमें. पीपीटी ऑलरेडी में किया हुआ है, तो यू कैन रीड, गो थ्रू इट, तो देख सकते हो उसमें से. So, dear friends, we will be discussing about ecological succession. So, ecological succession is a process through which ecosystem tends to change over a period of time. Succession can be related to seasonal environmental changes, which create changes in the community of plants and animals living in the ecosystem. Other successional events may take much longer periods of time, extending to several decades. The successive stages are related to the way in which energy flow through the biological system. We have discussed in previous lectures that within an ecosystem there are several different type of energy flow, food chain, food web. So this all components are interrelated with each other. Depending on that, there is change, a continuous change in the ecosystem. Whereas some changes can be observed very easily in a short span of time. On the other hand, few changes occur in a very long period of time, say like in several decades, that cannot be observed easily. So, a food chain shows how each living thing gets its food. Some animals eat plant and some animals eat other animals. A food chain always starts with plant life and end with an animal. Plants are called producers because they are able to use light energy from the sun to produce their food. Animals cannot make their own food, so they must eat plants and other animals, and these animals are called as consumers. Animals and people who eat both are called omnivores. Then there are decomposers, that is bacteria and fungi, which feed on decaying materials, and they are the very important part of ecosystem. So this is the image of food chain and a food web. A food web and a food chain are interconnected, as there cannot be too many links in a single food chain, because the animals at the end of the chain would not get enough food to stay alive. However, most animals are part of more than one food chain and eat more than one kind of food in order to meet their food and energy requirements. These interconnected food chains form a food web. These interdependence of the populations within a food chain helps to maintain the balance of plant and animal population within a community. Next is ecological pyramids. In an ecosystem, green plants, the producers, utilize energy directly from sunlight and convert it into matter. A large number of these organisms, from the most basic or first trophic level of the food pyramid. The herbivorous animals that eat plants are at the second trophic level and are called primary consumers. The predators that feed on them form the third trophic level and are known as secondary consumers. Only a few animals form the third trophic level, consisting of carnivores at the apex of the food pyramid. This is how energy is used by living creatures and flows through the ecosystem from its base to the apex. So here are two images. First one is of terrestrial food pyramid and second is of aquatic food pyramid. So we can see how it differs from each other. In aquatic food pyramid, there are components of water, whereas in terrestrial food pyramid, there are components only on the land base of the land-based ecosystem. So on the top of terrestrial ecosystem, terrestrial food pyramid, on the apex is man, then sheep, and the last one is fodder. Whereas in case of aquatic food pyramid, on the apex is man, then fish, microscopic primary producers, and then primary producers. So we can see from this image, we can understand that there is a huge difference between different food pyramids or land-based food pyramid and aquatic food pyramid. There can be some other components also depending on the need, depending on the requirement. But these two images are very simple and clear image for better understanding of terrestrial food pyramid and aquatic food pyramid. So next, there are different type of ecosystem: terrestrial ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem. Different examples of terrestrial ecosystem can be a forest, a grassland, semi-arid area, desert, mountains, island. Whereas aquatic ecosystem can be a pond, lake, wetland, a river, delta, and marine water source. The image on the screen clearly picturizes the components of a forest ecosystem. Forests are formed by a community of plants which is predominantly structurally defined by its trees, shrubs, climbers, and ground cover. The landscape that make up various types of forests look very different from each other. Thus, each forest type forms a habitat for a specific community of animals that are adapted to live in that situation. So we see that each different type of forest, they comprise of different components, different species, different animals, different plant, different vegetation, and each type of different components are adaptive to its local environment. So next is the different types of forest. The forest type depends upon the abiotic factors such as climate and soil characteristics of a region. Furthermore, in Indian scenario, the forest can be divided into two different forms, that is coniferous forest and broadleaf forest. They can also be classified according to the nature of their tree species, that is evergreen, deciduous, xerophytic or thorn trees, and mangrove at the end. They can also be classified according to the most abundant species of trees such as sal or teak forest. Coniferous forests. Coniferous forests grow in the Himalayan mountain region where the temperatures are very low. The forests have tall, straggly trees with needle-like leaves and downward sloping branches. They have cones instead of seeds and are called as gymnosperms. So we can see from the image the variety of trees which are available in Himalayan mountain region, forests of the Himalayan mountain region. These species of tree are designed and found suitable for this environment. As it is written or discussed that these tall stately trees have needle-like leaves and downward sloping branches. This is highly suitable for the weather or the climate which very oftenly, very commonly faces the snowfall. So due to pokey structure, cone-like structure and downward sloping branches, none of the branch or leaves get damaged by the weight of snow. It is advantageous to survive that situation. So depending on the climatic scenario, depending on geographical features, depending on several other parameters, we see that this type of tree or this species of tree is well adopted to local environment and local nature. In this area, most of the time the temperature is minimum, starting from minus to few degrees Celsius. Winter season is long compared to the dry summer season. There are very less sunny days in this type of area. So depending on the climatic parameters, this species has adopted and survived in such kind of area. If we take example of broad-leaved forest, that type of forest or vegetation couldn't survive in this situation. The climate, especially the snowfall, would not allow broad-leaved plant to survive. The structure of the branches, the design of the leaves are not suitable to survive in this type of environment. So yes, next is broadleaf forest. Broadleaf forest have several types such as evergreen forest, deciduous forest, thorn forest, and at the last is mangrove forest. So within the broadleaf forest also there are several different type of forests, and these different type of forests are located in different geographical areas. These different type of forests provide shelter, residence for different type of animals, birds, insects, etc. Additionally, from these different type of forests, different varieties of produce is generated. So first one is evergreen forest. So from the image itself, we can see this is an image of a dense forest having much amount or a much denser vegetation, large trees, small grass, other plants, creepers. This all can be seen in this image. So these type of forests are found in high rainfall areas of the Western Ghats, northeastern India, and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. It looks green throughout the year. The trees overlap with each other to form a continuous canopy. The forest is rich in orchids and ferns. The barks of the trees are covered in moss. The forest around allows in animals life and is most rich in insect life. If we try to understand the situation of evergreen forest, we'll find that this type of forest is highly suitable for most of the components of any ecosystem, like big animals, small animals, herbivorous animals, carnivorous animals, variety of birds, and variety of deciduous can be can reside in this environment, can survive in this environment. Because when there are large number of vegetation, the ground will be almost covered with organic waste like leaves, branches, etc. And when organic waste is on the ground, means decaying process is ongoing. That is a very suitable environment for the detrivorous to be present there. So this type of forest provides shelter for several different species of animals as well as insects, and it is a high rainfall area, so a number of tree species or vegetation species will also be seen. So next is deciduous forest. So deciduous forests are found in regions with a moderate amount of seasonal rainfall that lasts for only a few months. Most of the forests in which teak trees grow are of this type. The deciduous trees shed their leaves during the winter and hot summer months. In March or April, they regain their fresh leaves just before the monsoon, when they grow vigorously in response to the rain. Therefore, there are periods of leaf fall and canopy regrowth. Generally, the forest, this type of forest, has a thick undergrowth as light can penetrate easily onto the forest floor. So from the images we can see and understand that how there is canopy formation and how is the ground surface in this type of deciduous forest. Whereas in case of evergreen forest we have seen that canopy cover was of different type and the entire ground surface is covered with vegetation as well as several organic waste which has been generated by the trees. So next is thorn forest. So thorn forests are found in the semi-arid regions of India. The trees, which are sparsely distributed, are surrounded by open grassy areas. The thorny plants are called xerophytic species and are available to conserve and are able to conserve water. Some of these trees have small leaves, while other species have thick, waxy leaves to reduce water loss during transpiration process. Thorn forest trees have long or fibrous roots to reach water at great depths. Many of these plants have thorns which reduce water loss and protect them from herbivorous animals. So next is mangrove forest. You can see from the image this type of images we might have seen in several geographic discovery programs. Several programs I have seen which has been documented on similar type of area. So mangrove forest grow along the coast, especially in the river deltas. These plants are available to grow in a mix of saline and fresh water. They grow luxuriantly in muddy areas covered with silt that the river have brought it down from upstream. The mangrove trees have breathing roots that emerge from the mud bank. So As I said in the beginning, there are different forest produce, forest produces from different type of forest. Here, few examples are being given. That is the direct use of forest produce. So first is fruit like mango, jamun, amla, and several other fruit produce. We consume it or it is generated in forest area. Second is roots, which is received from forest area. Medicine, fuel wood, which consists of many species of trees and shrubs. Small timbers for building huts and houses. Wood and farm implements. Bamboo and cane for baskets. Grass for grazing and stall feeding of livestock. So we can see that different forest produces are there which is consumed directly, which is utilized directly by the human beings. Similarly, there are indirect uses of forest products. What are those forest products which are utilized or which can be classified under indirect uses of forest products? So it is first one is building material for construction and furniture for the urban sector. Medicinal products collected and processed into drugs. Gums and resins processed into a variety of products. Raw materials for industrial products and chemical. Last one is paper from bamboo and soft woods. So we can see that several other products are also available or products are there which are produced from the forest area. So before discussing the quiz, kindly spare a few minutes to identify near your surrounding, near your house, that what are the different things you are using or your family members are using which is from the forest area. So take at least 1 minute and then think it. So if we try to analyze, we will find several furniture, wooden furniture, wooden doors, windows, various food items like fruits. So we can see that even we are also dependent for several things which is being produced by the forest area. So these are the MCQs. You go through it, download the PPT on uploaded on the Moodle, go through it, read it, and try to attempt the questions. So that's it for today's lecture. Thank you.